camera. Make sure there's no one else who needs to come in the room. And you're ready to go.
Good morning. My name is Jed Stone. I'm a lawyer representing Marni Yang. This morning we were in court before Judge Christopher Stride to present a couple of motions and to catch the court up and the public up to speed on our investigation into the innocence of Marni Yang. I want to start by saying that Eric Reinhardt, the state's attorney of Lake County, is being very thoughtful about wrongful convictions generally. It's refreshing to have a state's attorney who recognizes that there are such things as wrongful convictions. And he has offered to look at the conviction of Marni Yang with fresh eyes. We welcome this new analysis of a deeply flawed conviction and look forward to working with the state's attorney in achieving justice. Today, two new things, one refreshed thing, and some developments on the defense team. The two new things. We got back from Bode Technologies, the experts for the state in this case, new DNA evidence of the bracelet. You may remember that there was a pregnancy bracelet that was found many, many months after the death of Miss Ryder in an empty lot many, many miles from where the body was found. We have always maintained that this bracelet has nothing to do with Marni, has nothing to do with this crime, and is really a red herring. But interestingly, the state has turned over this past week new evidence that DNA was located on the bracelet. It is not the DNA of Ronnie Reuter. It certainly is not the DNA of Marni Yang, but interestingly, it's DNA of an unknown male. We're going to pursue that unknown male DNA as best we can. Just a word on the bracelet. There's no record that Ronnie Reuter ever purchased a bracelet. Many of her family and friends have seen that bracelet and said Ronnie never wore it. Records from the manufacturer of the bracelet indicate that it was manufactured and I think sold by mail many years before Ronnie would have ever worn it or have been pregnant. This was not Ronnie's bracelet, and of that we're fairly certain. The other new thing in this case, I have said before, probably to you and certainly to others, that the deeper we dig, the deeper the hole gets for the prosecution. Well, we keep digging, and Art Borchers, a retired police officer and forensic crime scene analyst, contacted us about a week ago saying that there were still photographs taken by the police at the crime scene. These are not digital photographs, they're negatives on film, and these photographs may very well help us in confirming that Marni Yang was not the shooter in this case. Marni Yang did not kill Ronnie Reuter. She is innocent. Today we asked for access to those negatives to make digital copies of them so that we can digitally enhance them and see better the crime scene as photographed by the police officers and evidence technicians the day of the crime to further prove the trajectory of the bullets and that Marni Yang is innocent. Additionally, we filed a motion today asking for access to the condominium itself. Almost incredibly, there is no recording by the police of measurements of the room, the height of cabinets, the distance from one location to another, and we need that. We're asking the court to let us get back into that crime scene, 15 minutes with a tape measure and an expert to do the measurements that we need. I said that we were going to revisit something that we talked about earlier. I think it is troubling that the state asked a police officer witness if Sean Gale had an alibi, asked him that under oath before a grand jury, and the prosecutor, Ms. Patricia Fix, and the police officer both said that Sean Gale was at a barbershop at 8:30 that morning. The murder occurred around 8 a.m. That's critical evidence if Sean Gale is innocent. We obtained, as I think you know, the videotape from the surveillance video from the barbershop where Sean claims to have been getting a haircut. That shows him getting a haircut at a little after 10 o'clock, not 8:30, which, as I said last time we met in a press conference, destroys his alibi. But there's something else in that video that we need to talk about. Gale told the police that he had a cell phone, and Gale told the police which cell phone it was and what the phone number was on that cell phone, and the police secured records from that cell phone. There's no phone call on that cell phone made as he leaves the barbershop. Yet, here is a video of Gale leaving the barbershop, date and time stamped. Take a look.
Gale leaves the barbershop at 10:57 a.m. Video surveillance cameras capture him talking on the phone as he gets into his car. But as defense investigators examine his cell phone records, there is no call that Gale should have made or received at 10:57 a.m. There is only one possible explanation for this. Sean Gale had another cell phone that he didn't want the police to know about because he didn't report it to them when they spoke to him.
So, as I've said again and again, the deeper we dig, the deeper the hole gets. No one gets a pass in a murder. Not a Super Bowl player, not a star athlete.
I'm Amanda.
No one gets a pass, and we're asking that this alibi of Sean Gale be fully and fairly investigated by the state. I have every confidence that Mr. Reinhardt will conduct such an investigation. The new development in the defense team comes from unexpected sources. You'd expect lawyers, we've got them, investigators, boy do we have them, DNA experts, we've got the finest, Carl Reich, crime scene investigators, Art Borscher and John Larson, a retired FBI special agent. We put together a stellar team of experts, but we have new additions to this team. A group of exonerees, people who have been convicted, sentenced, some to death, and now are free because they were wrongfully convicted and are in fact innocent, have joined the team. I want you to watch today the statement of Amanda Knox, a young woman who was convicted of murder in Italy and has since been exonerated.
Hi, I'm Amanda Knox. As an exoneree, I know that convictions are not always what they seem.
That's why I'm asking State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt and Judge Christopher Stride to grant an evidentiary hearing to examine the results of a 4.5-year investigation into the case of Marni Yang. Her claims of innocence should not go unheard.
Marni Yang is innocent. We will win this case. She shall be exonerated. Are there any questions?
You mentioned several, this chapter, Channel 7, you mentioned
Yes.
a couple of other exonerees as well. I think Juan Rivera was one of them. Do you have statements from them that you're going to share at this point?
We do, and on the link, I didn't want to play the entire tape of their statements because it seemed like time was of the essence. But we've sent you a link with their statements on it and would urge you to take a look at that link.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else to ask about?
Any other questions from anybody?
If no one else has anything, I'll ask you about the time frame for a decision about handing over those negatives from the crime scene photos.
I need to talk with Mr. Reinhardt. I don't expect any pushback, but and we don't want them handed over. We just want to digitally copy them. We can do that at the Deerfield Police Department, and members of the state's attorney and the Major Crimes Task Force can be there when we do it. It will not take a long time, but it will be critically helpful in confirming Mr. Borscher and Mr. Larson's view that the scientific evidence in this case is that Marni Yang could not have fired the fatal shots.
Thank you. Have you discussed the case at this point with the state's attorney? Have you had a conversation with him about this case at all?
We have. We had an extensive conversation with Mr. Reinhardt, Art Borchers, John Larson, Steve Lupino, Tammy Kaling, and I all sat down with him. He was gracious enough to spend several hours with us, and I'm convinced he's going to give this case a careful examination with fresh eyes, and I am convinced, based upon my 45 years of defending criminal cases, that Marni Yang is innocent and will be exonerated.
Can you give us a sense of how she's doing at this point? She's survived this COVID situation. When's the last time you spoke with her, and what's her frame of mind?
Tammy talked with her yesterday. She's eager to get us to a hearing. You know, I can't imagine anything more painful than knowing that you're innocent and being in a prison. Prisons are terrible places. Logan is among them. There is no social distancing. There is no sanitary protection. COVID is a problem there. Marni, as many of you know, was tested positive for COVID, was hospitalized for a while, is back and doing better. But she knows that she is innocent. And she knows that we will prove that. And so this slow process is agonizing for her, but necessary. I've told countless numbers of clients, including Miss Yang, the law runs more like a glacier than a river. It is a slow process. And it has to be, because there has to be a certain amount of certainty to the evidence. We're accumulating that certainty, and we will persuade Mr. Reinhardt and Judge Stride that Marni Yang is innocent, but it will go at a painstakingly slow pace.
Thank you.
We have a question from WGN Radio. How did Amanda Knox become aware of this case? And did you reach out to her, or did she reach out to you?
I think that Amanda reached out to us. And I think she got to us through Juan Rivera, who is a exonerated individual who was wrongfully convicted out of Lake County. Lake County, Illinois has become known far and wide for wrongful convictions. And Ms. Knox is one of the more prominent of the wrongfully convicted exonerees. She came to us through Mr. Rivera, and we're very happy to have her on our team. We've sent her transcripts and materials from our post-conviction petition. She has thoughtfully reviewed it and has decided to come on board and plea for the exoneration of Marni Yang.
Jed, when you say she and the others have joined your team, what role do they play other than making these statements?
Well, I think they play an essential role. Justice doesn't happen in a vacuum. And often justice doesn't happen unless the public understands the injustice and helps lawyers like me fight for justice in the courtroom. Having exonerees come forward and say that based upon the evidence that they have reviewed, Marni deserves a new trial, that she is innocent, has a tremendous effect on both the public and the people in charge of her fate. They're important, integral members of our team.
I see that Larry is on the call. Is it possible, Larry, if you're listening, would it be possible to get you to speak and to give us your picture? I don't know if that's possible.
I don't know that he has the ability to be captured on film, but or on video, but I think we could get him to talk if you had a question for him. Larry, are you there?
I am here. I'm listening.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. So what's your question for Mr. Marar?
I would ask Mr. Marar and maybe Tammy afterward just a little bit more about how Marni is doing and how, and Mr. Marar, how the family is holding up, because this has obviously taken a lot longer than you may have hoped.
Well, I think that it's actually a matter of left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, and the devil is in the details. And I think that this team of investigators that have been working on the case have uncovered exculpatory evidence in behalf of Marni that shows that she is in fact innocent of this crime. And again, these people, whether it be Marni or any other incarcerated, they have one thing, and that's hope. So it's difficult for her, as Jed had mentioned, It's difficult for the family. It's difficult for Marnie's children, my grandchildren, and but it's a process, and I believe that the state has to have an affirmation that Marnie is in fact innocent and that errors were made. And I believe that we'll get to that. We've got the backing of not only Amanda Knox and Juan Rivera, but also Jason Strong, Angela Dominguez, and virtually, I believe, every one of the wrongfully convicted that has come out of Lake County over the last few years. So it's just going to take time. It's not something that you just snap your fingers and it fixes itself.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. I wonder if I could ask Tammy, since you spoke with Marnie yesterday, if you could give us your thoughts about how she sounded.
Yes, John. Marnie is grateful. She's grateful for this phenomenal team that is working, that developing the evidence in this. She's grateful. Her, if I, that's just the word. She's grateful. She's grateful that little by little, her children's lives are starting to move on. The bridge between them, Marnie and her children, is stronger than ever. She's hopeful of, re-entering their lives in a prominent manner with holidays. And she's just grateful. She's grateful for the exoneree. She's overwhelmed. She becomes tearful when she learns about new people speaking up and on behalf of her. And in a nutshell, Marnie Yang is grateful.
Is she specifically hopeful that as Jed mentioned, the fresh set of eyes of a new state's attorney is going to be significant?
Marnie, yes, she's very grateful for that. She's very guarded. She's been through a lot. She's very guarded. But she is very, very hopeful. She's starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. And when I have the pleasure of sharing with her some new discovery about the case, such as Art Borchers, noticing something in the photographs that we've never seen before, the light at the end of the tunnel just gets a little brighter for her each time.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I think that's it, folks. Thank you very much. It is truly a great honor for me to be a quarterback on this team, working with extraordinary investigators who are dedicated to the cause of justice and are frankly seeking the truth. Thank you.
Okay. We're off video. We're off of, we're
Great.
muted.
Good.